You're listening to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, episode 253. Welcome to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, where we take a research-based, trauma-informed, and results-focused approach to quitting porn. This approach has been revolutionary and changed thousands and thousands of lives. I'm your host, Sarah Brewer.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast this week. I'm Kat Jenkins. I'm a coach here in the program, Overcome Pornography for Good. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, if you celebrate this week. Today on the podcast, I just wanted to share a recent coaching experience with one of my clients. He did give me permission to share this, and I think it's going to be beneficial to so many of you because we all kind of talk in this what if kind of place. And so today we're going to be talking about playing kind of this new what if game. And so he had a trip planned. So in our session, he was talking about this trip that he planned. He'd been talking about it for months. He knew he had wanted to go, but as the time got closer, he started to think about all these what ifs. What if I go to the beach and see something? What if I have thoughts about what I see? What if I judge myself? What if I can't look away? What if I get stuck in these images and can't stop thinking about them? So all these what ifs turned him into shaming himself before anything had actually happened. And he decided not to go. He didn't book his tickets. He didn't plan the trip. Have you done this to yourself as well? Have you done this sort of what ifing, played this what if game with yourself, allowing like all of the what ifs of life to keep you from trying or doing the things that you want to do? Allowing things that have never actually happened to determine how you're going to show up in life? I had a coach once who would call this what ifing. He'd call it below ground zero. I mean, we can call it whatever we want. I sometimes say there's like this sort of neutral line. And so we're kind of below this neutral line when we play under there. We're what ifing below ground zero. So all these what ifs give us reasons to stay stuck when we stay under there. When we do this below ground zero what ifing, we decide not to move. We decide to beat ourselves up for things that we haven't done or might never do. But what if we do them? We use our past as evidence for our quote unquote failures that we continue to make up in our own heads, right? What if this happens again? What if I do something? What if I see something? Stop that. Stop it right now. Let's stop playing that what if game below ground zero. So today, let's talk about playing a new what if game. What if we started to what if above ground zero, above this sort of neutral line? What if we started to play and ask our what ifs in a totally different way? This is exactly what my client and I did in our session. We started to ask, quote unquote, better what if questions. What if questions that were coming from above ground zero? In past sessions, we talked a lot about his dreams and things that he wanted to do. And I knew that he had talked about wanting to meet Taylor Swift. And so I offered to him, what if on this trip you ran into Taylor Swift? What if you didn't take this trip and you missed out on that opportunity? What if that happened? What if you missed out on, like seeing somebody that you had never thought about seeing? What if amazing things happened? What if there was things that you could not have predicted that come true in this trip because you decided to take it? What if that happened? So I just started to offer him other options that were above ground zero, these what ifs, right? We talk sometimes about having this equal airtime. And so if we're only what ifing below ground zero and we don't give any airtime to what ifing above ground zero, then we're always going to stay in that kind of stuck place of like judging ourselves for the what ifs of who knows what could happen, right? So I offered my client the opportunity to what if above ground zero, to give equal airtime to both of those stories. And we started to offer and started to look at more interesting possibilities for our what ifs. And I want to offer that's available to you too, as you start to think about, especially when you do this what if, because I know that more often than not, your what ifing is going to be below ground zero. And it's only because that's the place that you practice what ifing the most, right? What if something terrible happens? What if I don't do this? What if this program doesn't work? What if I don't work? What if I screw things up? And we just kind of stay in this whole, stuck area below ground zero. But I want to offer that, let's start taking some time when we notice that we are what ifing below ground zero to give equal airtime to the what ifs of possibilities above ground zero. What if it does work out? What if I do exactly what I'm supposed to do? What if this program is exactly what I needed? What if this is the step I needed to take? What if I do this and it works? What if that happens? And notice in either scenario, if we're what ifing below ground zero, we're spiraling down. But if we're what ifing above ground zero, we start to spiral up into more possibilities and bigger opportunities. And we expand the way that we're what ifing when we do it above ground zero. Just like we spiral downward going when we're down here and below ground zero, we also do that when we're above ground zero. We can spiral upward. We can spiral to new things. We can spiral to bigger dreams, bigger possibilities, bigger options. And of course, all of these what ifs are made up, whether we're below ground zero or above ground zero. There's nothing about a what if that is ever necessarily true. So if we have the option of choosing our what ifs that happen, because they're all made up, why don't we choose more of the above ground zero making up? Let's make up that stuff because that feels so much better. Because if you're going to make up a story, make up one with the best possible outcome. The one that's going to help move you forward, the one that creates excitement in your life and possibilities instead of fear and self-judgment. Those thoughts are also available to you. Either of these could be true. Neither of them are. We're just making all of it up when we ask ourselves, what if? None of it's true. So let's just make up the thing that feels the best, that creates the most possibility and excitement in our life. So when you find yourself in the midst of what ifing below ground zero, which you will because you're human, know that there's nothing wrong with that. And it's worth giving space to other thoughts, to playing on the other side, to equal airtiming our what ifs in a way that explores and expands and helps us be thinking in a more positive, exciting way. How does that sound? How does that sound to you? To give yourself kind of this option to not just look at below ground zero what ifs, but to look at things on the other side, equal airtime to the things above ground zero, the what ifs that we don't know that are going to happen either, but feel so good to be thinking about them. So during this holiday season and hopefully beyond, I want you to practice allowing for more what ifs above ground zero, and then watch what happens. The more you look for and see and offer yourself positive what ifs, the more you'll find them, because whatever we choose to think about, we will see. And so the more that you're going to create this in your life, so look for them. This is powerful stuff. If you do it, right? If you practice this, let us use our powers for good in our own life. You got this. This is really exciting. So go play a new what if game. Go try this out for yourself and then let us know how it goes. Let us know what happens as you start to look for your what ifs above ground zero instead of below. All right. Thanks you guys for being here. It's been such a pleasure. See you guys next time. Bye.
I want to invite you to come and listen to my free class, How to Overcome Pornography for Good Without Using Willpower. We talk about how to stop giving into urges without pure willpower or relying on phone filters so that you can actually stop wanting pornography. We talk about how to stop giving up after a few weeks or months. And spoiler alert, the answer isn't have more willpower. And then lastly, we talk about how to make a life without porn easily sustainable and permanent. If you're trying to quit porn, this class is a game changer. So you can go and sign up at sarahbrewer.com/masterclass, and it is totally free.